Hi Homeworthy, I'm Sally. Welcome to my home in Cary, North Carolina. Come on in, I'd love to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Sally Nicol. I am a curator of vintage and antique home decor, and welcome to my home in Cary, North Carolina. We've been in this home for 7 years now. We actually had another home about a mile away, but we outgrew that home as we welcomed our third child. So we began to house hunt for a bigger home that would suit our needs, and we kind of took a huge leap of faith in the selling of our old home process. Went ahead and listed it with the agreement that we would need to rent back from whoever bought our house for up to 3 months while we house hunted. So, you know, most people that might be a little unsettling, but we really wanted to know the budget that we had to work with before we went house hunting. It was a little stressful here and there, but in the end, it did work out. We were able to rent back. We found this house miraculously within that time frame. That was 2018 when we sold our older house to purchase this house, and it was very much a seller's market then. So houses were going quickly, and so we were getting worried because we had lost out on maybe a house or two before this one came along. So when this one popped up on the market, we were like, okay, this checks all the boxes, so let's go all in as much as we can. We heard that this house had 26 offers on it after the fact. At that time, you could still write what I think you would call a love letter to the sellers, kind of telling them who you are, you know, what you love about their home, what you hope to do to it. We sent, I believe, our Christmas card photo with it. So I don't know if that played a factor in it, but we did get the house. It has a great addition that the former owners added, and that was the main selling point for us. We were originally looking for a home that had maybe a basement for some flex area for the kids, but this addition includes actually a full mother-in-law suite. So it has a bedroom, bathroom, kitchenette, and a living area and an exterior entrance. So when we saw that, we were like, this is even better than a basement, and that is kind of what sealed the deal for us on really wanting to make this our home. Welcome to our foyer. This didn't always look like this. When we moved in, we had a bank of closets and our HVAC system closet right here. So it was very narrow and very dark, and that was something that I knew that I wanted to change. And actually, something happened where our HVAC systems died, and that kind of started a whole first floor renovation, which I was kind of secretly glad about. So like I mentioned, it was very dark. There was just a little narrow walkway. So I loved the fact that we got rid of that whole bank of closets and created this nice open area. I always wanted to incorporate a great antique piece, and this is kind of like our catch-all, like hairbrushes, hair ties, things like that. Last minute look before you go out the door. All of our shoes are in here, but I'm not going to open that for you right now. So this is kind of like our built-in little mudroom organizer, if you will, but I also wanted it to look pretty. And I just love to welcome people into our entry of our home with artwork that I've collected. I love seascapes, and that's just a great one that I found at an auction. This is Montpelier, the home of James Madison, our 4th president, and also where I went to school, James Madison University, and also where I met my husband. That has a lot of significance, and I'd love to take the kids to actually see Montpelier, his home, maybe this summer. But I also have a few other pieces. This is the Shenandoah Valley region of Virginia, which is where my husband's from, and again, where James Madison University is. I love that it is just a great antique painting that I found, and it perfectly complements the rest of the art. And I also collect these great 12 months of florals, framed pieces that kind of commemorate each month, and October is for my son's birthday. So I just love to display a unique collection. And over here I have a really pretty little mid-century piece that actually hung in the exact same spot in my grandparents' home. This is their piece and it hung right beside their door. It's a little house blessing and I just feel like that's a really sweet piece to incorporate. I also love to have a classic umbrella stand. I'm always measuring items for the things that I sell online. So I have a couple of measuring sticks and some fun little canes that I collect that the kids like to play with too. And also a great little just column riser to display florals or other unique little treasures that I find and kind of switch those out seasonally. And of course, a little chair that we have if you are sitting here to put shoes on is always convenient. And I really wanted to incorporate some coastal texture, and I have this beautiful seagrass rug that was handmade, and you could get it in any size. I chose this as a runner for this space. It is surprisingly really durable, and I just love how neutral it looks and just gives a nice little element of texture to this space. One thing that we also did, because this home does have 8-foot ceilings, I wanted to make this ceiling in particular a little bit more fun. I do like monochromatic though, so I chose a very subtle monochromatic wallpaper to highlight just kind of the colors and the hues in here and give a little bit of visual interest to the ceiling with not being too overwhelming. And for the doors, this house was built in 1986, but I love adding any sort of historical charm. So I love a good storm door. It lets in a lot of beautiful natural light, especially this house being so traditional, it doesn't get a ton of natural light on its own. So I'm always looking for ways to incorporate that. And even this front door, I just love the 2 lights at the top that peek through to this storm door perfectly. And I'm always asked this color. This is Elusive Green by Sherwin-Williams, but I knocked it down to 50%. And it's a great color that changes throughout the day, kind of goes from lighter to moodier at night. I also really love this cute little cast iron Westie doorstop because I have a Westie. She's often seen in a lot of my marketing photos. My daughters painted this for me. It was kind of a yellow and green color when I found it, and they brightened it up with white and gold at the bottom. This always serves a purpose because it's holding back our heavy door when I want to let a lot of the natural light in. This mirror that also serves as a little catch-all for bags and book bags and things like that. My husband made this for me. The wood is from my family's farm estate, dates back to the late 1800s. And I love that he incorporated the wood into this mirror and kind of upcycled it for me. So I have a little piece of my grandparents' estate. Welcome to our front living room. This is a space that most guests see as soon as they come in. I utilize this wall to do a floor-to-ceiling gallery wall. I'm always collecting artwork, and these are some of my favorite pieces that have stuck with me, never willing to sell them. You'll see that I have a lot of Audubons, a lot of kind of pastoral scenes, some coastal, some historical places, you know, where we've been in our travels and things like that. So most of them have some significance to us. Some of them are just the aesthetic that I loved. This is actually a Matisse, a real authenticated signature. This is a restrike. So the print is a restrike of the original, but his signature on there is the original, which I found at a thrift store when my husband and I were on an anniversary trip in Beaufort, and I just love this one. I believe it's called Elsa, and it's one of my favorite pieces on my gallery wall. This piano was actually a gift from a former neighbor on the street that we used to live We were both moving at the same time. She was downsizing and retiring and moving to the coast, and she knew that we had young children and gifted this piano to us, which was really special. It had been in her family for decades. Actually, her mother did the needlepoint on the bench, and of course I just love it because it goes with the colors that I'm naturally drawn to as well. I love the fluted legs on it. And just the color of this piano is just such a pleasing, kind of a time-worn patina that I love. My husband and another neighbor literally wheeled it on dollies down the street while we were both in the process of crazy moving. I think we stored it in another neighbor's home before we moved into this home because it was just in the craziness of the move. But my kids have enjoyed taking lessons. They have kind of their own system with the painter's tape of labeling the keys, but I grew up playing piano as well, and so it's just a really nice special piece to have in here. Above it, this is a mirror that I found that incorporates faux bamboo, which I'm a huge fan of, and also the Greek key pattern. I love Greek key, and you'll kind of see that throughout some of the items that I collect and display. So this, I felt like, was the perfect statement to go above the piano. And again, I love just the natural color of it. A lot of people lacquer these, and I didn't choose to lacquer it because I just loved the natural look of it. This piece is a piece that I picked up in France just recently at one of the flea markets. It's a beautiful watercolor of Normandy. It was just on board, but I had it framed. But again, I love the colors of it and how complementary it is to the rest of the wall. Another item that I really love in this room is this pair of faux bamboo lamps. They're often attributed to the designer Dorothy Draper. I had seen one of the lamps at an antique store. It had been there for probably almost a year, but I wanted a pair. So every time I would see it, I'd be like, oh, maybe if I ever found the mate to it. But I happened to be looking on Facebook Marketplace one day and I found another identical lamp. It was in Maryland. I explained to the lady, hey, I'm not a scammer, but will you ship this to me? And of course, I'll pay for the shipping. I found another one at an antique store and I really want a pair. So she was kind of excited to help me match it up because they are kind of hard to find and collectible, and she packed it so well. And then I sent her a photo, of course, of the matching pair complete in their home. But they're a great neutral. I love the naturalness of the bamboo, kind of ties in with the caning on this love seat, and I just feel like they kind of go with everything, even if I'm changing things up seasonally. This love seat was another Facebook Marketplace find. It was, I think, maybe slightly damaged in shipping and someone was selling it, but I knew it was the perfect length for this space. And of course, I loved the caned sides and kind of the light, airy coastal feeling of it. And this is a Thomasville coffee table that I picked up at an estate sale. Originally, I was thinking it was going to be way too massive for this room, but I love the proportions of it actually, and we use it all the time. You can prop feet up on here. Kids are sitting here kind of doing their own thing around it sometimes. And the lightness of the marble, I feel like, really kind of brightens up the room. Another just great staple piece, and I love that it's a classic brand that kind of stands the test of time. These are the chairs that I mentioned before. These are Maguire chairs. I found them in pretty rough shape. They didn't have any seat cushions, but I walked into a thrift store, saw these lines of these chairs, and I knew that they had to be something special. So of course I flipped them over and it said Maguire San Francisco on the bottom, and I was so thrilled because that is not a brand that you come across every day, and I love the natural color. This is a wrapped dried leather on these, and they are super comfortable. We use them all the time, and it's just a pair that I never see myself getting rid of. They're just classic, and I love them. When we first moved into this room, this wall was completely blank, and so I wanted to add a little bit of visual interest and to display even more pieces in my collection. So my husband actually built this entire wall of IKEA bookcases, and he custom built them into the wall. So it was a fun little project for he and the kids. I love anything coastal, so you'll see a lot of the coral. I picked these up at several different estate sales, and to find them this large is kind of rare. So displaying those, I feel like, just kind of balances out the coastal influence of the room. I love to collect books, historical books, a lot of art books and things like that, and usually I try to color coordinate them as well. And then just framing family photos that have significance, my grandparents getting married, me and my husband, and then a sweet little photo of my husband and my father-in-law, and then the same with my husband and my daughter. So I just love that this is one of the first things that you see when you walk into our home. I feel like my home style is a mix of three things. I feel like it's kind of coastal, kind of influenced by the chinoiserie style, and also cottagey, which is kind of a collected, cozy feel. So coastal style for me would be a lot of layering of textures like bamboo. I decorate with a lot of coral, just colors that are serene, blues, greens, whites, earth tones. I just am inspired by nature. I love a good seascape painting. And birds are seen everywhere in my home. For chinoiserie, I love the Asian influence of art, and I find that just so interesting. And a lot of that art actually picks up a lot of the coastal colors as well, which I love. And also blue and white and porcelain and transferware and things like that kind of fall into the chinoiserie style. And I would say cottage style is just kind of a sentimental collection. It's hand picking certain items to layer your home, to give it that cozy, memorable feel. Welcome to our kitchen. It did not look anything like this when we bought it. This was a complete kitchen renovation that we did in 2023. Actually 2022 into 2023, but we took down a wall. We had a wall in between where our range hood is and the table over there. It was a very small dining room. That room was kind of just a pass-through room to the addition before. It wasn't really usable. It also had no natural light because the doors of the addition were once windows, so those were removed. We actually added the doors to a side deck on that side just to add more natural light. But really taking down that wall has totally transformed this whole wing of the house and has really opened our kitchen up to have this great kind of long galley style kitchen. I really wanted to keep this portion, this wall of the kitchen nice and clean and limit the uppers, because this is the first view that you see when you come in through the front door or if you're sitting in the living room. So I wanted a nice big window that could look out to the deck and to the backyard. No upper cabinets because we decided to keep that all on this wall, which is kind of more utilitarian. And again, just another chance to have more wall space to display artwork and just keep it nice and open and flowing. I really wanted to go with an all white kitchen, again, very monochromatic, because I feel monochromatic is really my thing. We chose a very subtle backsplash. It almost blends in with the wall color. This is Balboa Mist by Benjamin Moore, and I believe this is a Montauk Jen backsplash tile. And I just love that it's very, it goes together, it blends in without calling too much attention to itself. It's not something that I would grow too tired of over time and still feels classic and fresh. We were actually going to do a totally different tile right here behind the cooktop. But as you know, when you're remodeling a kitchen, there are lots of decisions. And I was kind of getting a lot of decision fatigue. So I told my husband, I don't know, I think we should just go with the same tile. But he actually came up with this very nice geometric pattern where it differs over here, where you can use all of the same tile, but it adds just a little bit more visual interest to that side. So it worked out perfectly and I love it, and we didn't have to break up the tile, and I just love how nice and clean it looks. He also custom built the range hood, which is just a clean and simple cottage style hood, which was what we were going for. Originally, we were not planning to have an island in this kitchen. We had considered maybe building something permanent, but that felt like it might have been too heavy. So once we completed the kitchen, for a long time we lived without an island. So we had this really large open space. Once we lived with it for a while, we thought, well, maybe it would be nice to have something, you know, as a go-between between the refrigerator and to this other counter space. So I actually found this table at a Habitat for Humanity restore. It was $20. It did not have the marble top, but I thought that size looks like the perfect proportions for our kitchen. So I'm just gonna take it home, try it out. So we had it in here for months, and then we said, yep, I think this is the right size and the right look. So our local stone yard cut this beautiful marble top, which is an exact match for the quartz, but I liked that it had a little bit of contrast to the quartz between the marble. So we use this all the time. And when we have guests over, we clear this off, and it also becomes a little serving station. I've added these really cute little Scandinavian style stools that I found at a secondhand shop. And our kids will often sit here and have cereal or have breakfast. And I love that these just tuck under here so well and add a little bit of warmth to the space with their color. Yeah, this was a happy kind of find that really pulled the kitchen together. This is the more utilitarian side of the kitchen. It's kind of hidden from the front door and the front room, but we have, you know, all of our appliances on this side, and this, you know, is kind of like the main hub of the kitchen, if you will. It's always busy over here, but I love how clean it looks. We decided to kind of go central with the big appliances and then fan out and have some counter space on either side. And my husband designed the layout of the cabinets and the installation. He is a wonderful carpenter and engineer, so very fortunate that he was able to do a lot of the work in this kitchen himself, and we love how it turned out. This kitchen had a very small peninsula before the remodel, but we decided to extend it to try to achieve an island-like feel. This serves a great purpose for the kids. This is kind of their hangout zone, drop zone in the kitchen. This seats 4, and we have 3 kids, so it's the perfect amount of space. And sometimes if we're not having a family dinner at the table, they'll eat here, and having this large of a space right here really serves us well. Right next to our peninsula is another dining spot, and this is an antique farmhouse table. We acquired this secondhand, and my husband refinished it. We bought it from someone who had had it in their family for generations. They felt like it dated to the late 1800s, and you can kind of see some of these nap joints and things like that that suggest that. But I loved the longer length of it, and that it would really fill this space nicely. And of course, it is great to have another table here that kind of mirrors our dining table over there. Just adds even more seating options when we have company. So this is what used to be our formal dining room. There was a wall right here. So it was very small, but now that the wall is down, our dining room table is just in the kitchen, which I think adds a little bit of charm to the space. This table is a faux bamboo, something again that I collect. This is a Dixie brand table, and I love that it has the glass top, which is pretty easy to clean with kids and whatnot. My husband refinished this in this great sagey green color. It's called Ancient Marble by Sherwin-Williams. And these are the coordinating McGuire chairs that my mom found for me that coordinate to the lounge chairs that are in our living room. And I just love these. I love the color and the style of them. They're nice and wide and comfortable. And they fit perfectly around this table. I did choose to do 2 different head chairs just to break it up a little bit. And again, it also has a little bit of light airiness, coastal feel to it. The rug underneath is a beautiful needlepoint rug actually. And it is like the exact same size as the table, but I didn't really mind that because we are dealing with different kind of rooms here, so it kind of keeps it all nice and contained. And I just love the fact that it's needlepoint and it's something a little bit more unique and different. And it was, again, a secondhand find, so I'm not too worried about it, you know, being under the table, but it's held up beautifully so far. This is a beautiful Indian tree pattern, which I use when we have guests or for holidays. It's just a really pretty pattern that I love the colors of, and so any chance I see it at an estate sale or an antique store, I tend to just buy more pieces to add to my collection. This is a capiche shell chandelier. It is from West Elm, so it's more contemporary, but I loved the coastal aesthetic of it, how it's a little bit more unexpected, it brings in just that great natural quality. And this piece here is a really great, super functional piece. I use it daily. Now, most people would probably use this as a server, and it would probably be smart of me to keep my silverware and plates and everything in it, but I use it for my business. So this is where I stash a lot of my treasures and things like that. It helps keep me organized. It is a wonderful tiger oak piece. It's an antique, and I found it at an estate sale a few years ago. This was actually one of the last things left in the house. I couldn't believe it that it was still there. Usually on Sundays, it's half price day, so it was the last day of the sale, it was half price. It was on the 3rd floor, and I think that was the catch. No one wanted to bring it down, but it was such a great deal, and it was such a great piece that I said, I'll be back with my husband, I will purchase this, and it just happens to fit beautifully between these 2 doors, which the 2 doors didn't exist when I bought this piece, but since we added them, it's just the perfect little piece for this space. And I always love to decorate it. I change this somewhat seasonally. The mirrors are pretty constant. I like to layer things. I feel like that adds a little bit more visual interest. And white wicker, I've always had a fondness for. Childhood bedroom in the early 90s. My mom and I decorated it with a lot of white wicker and a lot of Martha Stewart for Kmart line. So that very much reminds me of my childhood. And of course, I just love anything with the woven texture. I think it blends so beautifully, even with an antique piece such as this. And usually I'm displaying a ginger jar of some sort. This is one that I just recently acquired. Love the color of that, especially for spring and summer, the beautiful coral color. And this is probably the best piece of coral that I ever found at an estate sale. I'm even surprised that it made it home in one piece because I literally put it in a tote bag with other things in there. But I love that piece, and it's pretty much a permanent fixture right here or on another buffet table that I have, but it's one that I really love to display. Here on either of these walls, you'll see that I have 2 sets of artwork. These are beautifully hand-colored French lithographs, which I just love the large scale of, and it has a coordinating one on that side. And then we also have some French watercolors. These were both picked up at different spots, but I loved how they coordinated with each other. So these are kind of permanent here as well. I don't often find myself changing these because I just love the serene colors of them both. I also did just this wall in a nice little accent wallpaper. Again, very subtle, very monochromatic. That's kind of my theme. And I think it just adds a little bit of visual interest. It really picks up the Balboa mist wall color and the Greek villa white. And I just love that it adds a little bit of interest and texture to the space. Welcome to our side porch. This also didn't exist when we first moved into this home. This kind of came about in the need for natural light in that dining room before we renovated it because there were no windows. It was so hard for me to decorate that space. So I said to my husband, what if, and the what ifs kind of led to this, what if we added windows to bring in some natural light? But then that turned into what if we added doors that led to another beautiful outdoor space. This side of our house, since there were no windows on the bottom of this side, we didn't have access to this beautiful mature greenery that's evergreen year round. So it's really nice that now we feel like we have a whole extra portion of our yard too that we're able to enjoy at all times just by the view from the kitchen and the dining area. So my husband built this whole deck himself and the pergola. He is 10 times more talented than I am in decorating. He is in carpentry and design, and it was just a sketch and then he brought it to life. It's just a beautiful space that we love to enjoy the porch swing. We love to have like a little, quick bite out here at this little bistro table. I love to see the kids like running on this path. Like I can just see their little heads bobbing when I'm in the kitchen, so it's kind of funny. But I love that this just adds so much more character to the outside of our house, especially from the curb view. It adds a great bit of curb appeal to it, and it's just another beautiful outdoor space that we get to enjoy. Okay, welcome to our family room. This is our sunken family room. You take a couple steps down from the kitchen area. We use this room a lot in the winter because of the fireplace, but this is also kind of a throwaway for the outdoors to get to the screen porch in the backyard. The kids are often playing in here. They have a little mini trampoline and gymnastics that is usually set up in here, so it's kind of a nice little rec room for them as well. Again, I've kept a lot of the colors very coastal here. You'll see that some of the artwork reflects that and the colors in this room. I love the woven. These are Thomasville, a pair of vintage Thomasville end tables, and I chose to keep them this natural color just because of the wonderful warmth and texture that it brings and kind of goes with the rest of the furniture in this room. This is probably the best thrift store find that I've ever acquired. These are the set of the 4 Asian story panels, and I wish I knew a lot more about them, but I don't. I do believe that they're hand painted, but I just was drawn to the scale of them for one, and of course the imagery and the colors, and it just has a lot of soul to it, and I just felt like it kind of energized the room. And again, the perfect size, the scale to go over a sofa. The sofa is a great North Carolina made sofa that I acquired secondhand. It was in great shape. I loved the color of it, the herringbone texture, and it's super comfortable and super well made being from North Carolina. And these chairs are actually more McGuire chairs that I just recently found on a trip to Florida. I saw them posted on Facebook Marketplace. I suspected that they were McGuire, but the seller wasn't really sure. And I guess they just didn't want to take time to look for the stamp. I think they were in storage, but I took a chance and I said, okay, let me meet you and let's take a look at these chairs. And I was so thrilled to see the stamp that they are in fact McGuire. They date to the 1950s, and they have a great canvas wrapped back and seat. And I just love the natural look of these. And it has a nice casual look as well, which is perfect for this family room. So these were a very lucky find, and I just love how they look in this room. The built-ins and the fireplace, are one of my favorite features of this room. The fireplace was not white when we bought it. It was a really dark brick. So I did decide to brighten it up by painting it, and I love that decision. Not everybody loves painted brick, but I feel like it really brightened this room, especially being that it was kind of a darker room to begin with. Even though it leads to the screen porch, we don't really get a ton of natural light in this room. So anything that I could do to brighten it up, I was just trying to lift it a little bit visually. And on the bookcases, you'll see that I have a lot of blue and white displayed, things that I've collected. Usually these are things that I pick up on trips or things like that. The large Indian tree, blue and white, was a piece that I found in a really great antique store in Williamsburg, Virginia. And I love to pair it with ironstone for some contrast, the white ironstone. I always think that's like a classic look that always looks nice on a shelf. And again, layering in family photos, some sentimental pieces. I think framing something that's a little bit unexpected sometimes adds some interest. And this is a handwritten recipe of my grandmother's. So I love to see her sweet handwriting and love how that looks as a piece of art. And over here, I have kind of mirrored the same. Blue and white is another theme on this side as well. Blue willow is a classic pattern that my mom collects, and I love having some of her pieces. This is one that she gifted to me. And my mom is actually from such a small town that she still knows everyone. So this plate right here was a gift from her second grade teacher. So she is still in contact with people like that. And so she gifted it to me to become part of my personal collection. And I just love little mementos like that. And again, I've flanked it with more natural texture in the baskets and coordinating with some of the white, like the milk glass lamps and the dried hydrangeas. On our fireplace, I have a wonderful, just thrifted English print. I loved the colors of it. I felt that it was so serene. At one point, I had a mirror here, and I didn't love the look of that. It was too reflective of everything going on in the kitchen. So I love that this kind of just gives your eyes a place to rest. And I have flanked it with some pewter candle holders. And the ribbons were actually left over from Christmas. I had decorated the mantle in blue this past Christmas, but I felt like it was such a cute little charming touch that I decided to leave the ribbon. And this piece is also a special piece to me. This again came from my grandparents' estate, the one that dates back to the late 1800s. This was a walnut beam that came from their barn, and my husband has cut it to fit and installed it as our mantle. So it's a very special piece to have on display in this family room that connects me with that special place. The fireplace screen is a great little piece that I found at an antique store, and I love that it's freestanding. It has a slight bevel design to it, and it really looks beautiful when the fire kind of flickers behind it. And it wasn't quite the right height for the firebox, so again, we've elevated it on that same walnut wood. I have tried so many different rugs in this space. I've had wool, I've had jute and sisal, and because it is kind of a main gateway to our outdoor space, the kids were always tracking things in on it, and it was impossible to keep that clean. So I've actually switched to a ruggable. This is one of the great washable rugs, and I love it because it really brightens up the space. I don't have to worry about my kids tracking mud in all the time. And it's cushioned underneath, so it's a great soft landing when they're doing gymnastics and things down here. And I just love that it kind of has even a vintage aesthetic for being something that is a newer piece. This is a great little secretary piece. I just love the patina on the wood. It's a warmer wood, and I liked that about it. I store a lot of photos, correspondence, stationery, stuff like that in here. And of course, again, another place to display pictures and art above it. This is actually a painting that my daughter did when she was 10. She was watching a lot of YouTube videos. I believe this was a maybe Miss Mustard Seed video, but Miss Mustard Seed painted this exact same painting, and my daughter took the tutorial and did this, and I just loved how it turned out. It's a sweet little seascape, and I thought she did such a great job. I love this little piece. I found it at the Raleigh flea market years ago. It's been in our last house, it's been in this house. I just always find a spot for it. It's great. We can pull it out a little bit further when we have, more people over, if we're playing games or something like that. I love, again, the patina to the wood. And this was actually the original upholstery that it came with, and I've always just found a way to make it work with the current room based on pillows and things like that. But I love the lines of it, and I just think it's a cute little antique piece that doesn't look stodgy and can work with a variety of decor. I started this business actually when I was newly pregnant with my first baby. I was in between marketing jobs at that time, and it was very stressful to find another job while I was pregnant. So my husband and I just decided that we would just take it easy until the baby comes and then make a move. But in that time, I was decorating her nursery, and I've always loved vintage things, so I would kind of go and hunt for perfect little vintage pieces to really make her nursery unique. So we finished her nursery and all of that, and we just found that we really loved that as a hobby. So we started refinishing vintage pieces and selling them. And while I was also hunting for the perfect furniture pieces, I would find all sorts of great decor and smalls and things like that. And I started staging it with the furniture pieces, and eventually those smaller items became what was more in demand, and actually what I love to source as well. I love to hand select things and style them. So that's kind of how it found me, and I feel very fortunate. I never went back to a full-time advertising job, because over the last 12 years, this has really picked up as a full-time business for me. So I feel super fortunate that it worked out that way, because I would have never imagined that this could be a full-time job for me. But it's just something that my mom and I share a passion of. We love to decorate, and I think it's just kind of been how I was raised too. She was always a bargain hunter. She is a bargain hunter, and that's kind of been passed down to me. My grandmother was the same way. So we would often go to thrift stores, yard sales, things like that. And I think that that shows you that you can also buy above your means sometimes. What you find at a secondhand store can be really wonderful, and it's almost like a treasure hunt each time you go. And I think that's really the thrill of it for me. I just love, going into a store not knowing what sort of treasure that you might walk out with. Now I'll take you into the addition area of our home, and we've nicknamed this whole wing of the house the cottage. So that's what we refer to it as. And this is a great space that allows us to close off this wing, or just have it as versatile as we need it. This space is a great little butler's pantry. I kind of use it for storage of my decor for my business. This sweet piece is a cute little sideboard, again, that I found at an estate sale. And I felt like it was the perfect spot right here to store some things again for my business. And the French doors have just enough space to clear this, which my husband sometimes disagrees with having this piece here, but I personally love it. And it gives me a space to have a little vignette above it with the mirror and the plates on the wall. This is also our dog's feeding station. I found this cute little acrylic dog food feeder on Amazon, and then I added my own little blue willow bowls with it. So even the dog has a little aesthetic blue willow spot. But again, this is super functional little space, even though it's small, and it has great storage. And I love the character that the French doors gives to this space. This is the kitchenette in the cottage, and this is a great little prep space for my husband. He loves to grill, so this is often what he uses as his prep kitchen, and then it has a full fridge right here. But I love the natural light from the outside right here, and of course this living area is surrounded by windows, and that was one of the great selling features of this home too, was just the beautiful view of our backyard that you can see on all three sides. This space is the living space of the cottage, and this is actually our main family hangout room. This is our TV room where the kids play video games, other games, things like that. This is the only room in our house that is vaulted. So even though the footprint of the room is small, the vault and the windows make it feel nice and light and airy. And this space, for being somewhat small, like there's a lot of living that goes on in it. We always kind of have guests over in this portion of the house just because of the easy access to the backyard. And so it's just a great place to hang out and relax. And this is where you can always find my kids hanging out and my dog. This is a great room. I love how light and open it is. My husband actually added the beams and updated the fan to a beautiful white and gold fan last summer. We added this cute little ledge above the window seat just to give a little bit more character to the space, and of course another spot to decorate. I love to showcase more blue and white up there, coral, books, and kind of give it a fun little library feel with this perfect little reading nook right here. It's just a great lookout to the backyard. The kids love to sit there, play with the dog. The dog is always in that spot on squirrel patrol. I just love how this is the main focal point of the room, and so I really wanted to try to dress up this spot. You'll see that I've added some wallpaper to this spot as well, just a little bit for visual interest that kind of ties into the textiles in this space. And then I love how you can introduce artwork in unusual spots. So I've added this restrike of a Picasso painting. This one's called Blue Boy. I love how the blues in this room all really go together. So I love to mix old and new. This is a great vintage council chair, armchair. It has a really regal look to it, and I love that it has the playful buffalo check to kind of lighten it up a little bit. A more contemporary, this is a Martha Stewart swivel chair that my kids love, but I loved the color of it. This piece is actually a really great apothecary style piece that I found secondhand, and I personally refinished it, so it's not the best job, but I kind of love that it looks a little bit distressed as well. This color is Benjamin Moore's Metropolitan, and I just love the serene hue of it, and this provides a ton of storage of board games, books, Legos, things like that. And it's a large piece, but I feel like it works in this room really well. I really wanted to make this room feel nice and cozy, even though it is very open and bright with the windows. So to do that, I hung some woven Roman blinds. These are actually from a company called 2 Pages, and the curtains are as well. And the drapes are a nice linen mix with a French pleat at the top, which I think just adds a really nice refined touch to the space, but also makes it feel nice and cozy. My children always pull the shades down when they're watching TV or whatnot to reduce the glare, but I love the option to just enjoy the beautiful view, or if you needed more privacy or reduce the glare, you can pull those down as well. I chose not to do drapes on this wall just because we have a lot going on with the wallpaper and all of the pillows and the window seat. So I left that a little bit cleaner so I could decorate it a little bit more. These are some great fun prints that I found on a trip with my mom to Maine. I loved that they have these little nautical sea creatures, and you have the coastal birds, and I have chosen some others over here from that same series to frame. It's just a great memento from that trip to Maine, and also ties in so well to the beautiful nature and coastal aesthetic that I love so much. I've paired it with Wedgwood plates in the middle to bring in another little extra pop of visual interest. As you can see, I really love decorating with plates. I love this Asian scene. It's a wonderful old textile that I purchased secondhand, and it had been in someone's family for a long time. I updated the bamboo frame with a nice gold tone to it, but I love just the aesthetic that it brings to the space. It's really serene, and I think it works beautifully in here. This is one of my favorite pieces in the room. It's a antique Victorian burnt bamboo corner chair, and these are a little bit harder to find. I just love the way that it's built and made, and all of the little bobbins I think add such visual interest, and this burnt bamboo is harder to find these days, so I love that it fits perfectly in this little nook right here. I feel like I have several items that I really just never see myself letting go of that I've found, even though some people may see them in my shop just in the background, and I always get lots of inquiries about them, but I'm kind of feeling like, no, I feel like their forever home is right here with me. Most notably, I found some great McGuire lounge chairs, which are highly collectible. It's made of like a rawhide leather. You don't come across them often anymore, and ironically, my mom also found the matching dining chairs to those lounge chairs, which I now have as well, which was just an amazing lucky find. And I also have come across some beautiful Asian chinoiserie style story panels that are quite large that hang above our sofa in our den. And there's just a presence about them that I just love, and I never see myself getting rid of those. But I knew once I walked in a thrift store, that's where they were, that they were going to come home with me. And so I love what they bring to our home. Welcome to our first floor guest room. I love that this room is just a serene spot for our guests to relax in. I went very light and of course monochromatic in here with the wall color and just a very, very subtle wallpaper. But then I also blended some darker accessories such as the paintings and the mirror over here. I liked the balance of the light and airiness, but with the moodier artwork. Again, I've also tied in some natural textures with the fan that's wrapped in the caned accent piece, and then the bamboo shades that are super functional. They're blackout, so that provides some nice privacy. The bed is an antique that my husband and I refinished. This was one of the first projects that we did for this house because I found a great dark, this was very dark frame, but we wanted to lighten it up quite a bit. And it's actually a full-size bed, but he converted it to be able to fit a queen-size bed. So this is a super functional, just pretty space for our guests. Again, I have found some antique lamps that coordinate nicely with it, as well as the petite scale of the nightstands, which is just what's needed in here since it's not a very big space. But I feel like it's a very relaxing retreat that also looks out to the landscaping and our side deck over here, so it has a nice little view as well. This is a great little marble top chest. I painted this piece myself and updated the hardware to this antique brass bail pull, but I love that it's nice and compact and doesn't overwhelm the space. It's just the perfect size for a guest room. And you'll see that I also have another faux bamboo mirror. Again, this is the similar finish that my living room mirror has, where it's just the original pale yellow color, which I love the natural look of and felt like it tied in beautifully with the other furnishings of the room. A great little chinoiserie style lamp that had this fun little tassel on it, and I just love the little pop of color with it. And I always like to include a little dish as kind of a catch-all for keys, coins, wallets, things like that. So this is the adjoining ensuite bathroom to our guest bedroom. Something that's unique about this space and the bedroom is it was designed for handicapped accessibility. So you'll see that the door frames are extra wide from the bedroom and to the bathroom. We have a spot that could be handicap accessible here, which I've chosen to furnish with an extra chest for more storage. We updated this bathroom a few years ago. Everything was original to when it was built in 1995. So I was hosting my sister-in-law's baby shower a couple of springs ago, and I wanted to quickly update it since this would be the primary bathroom that guests were using off of our backyard. So I chose this great little budget-friendly marble-topped vanity from Home Depot, and we quickly replaced the linoleum with some vinyl plank flooring. Eventually, I would love to tile this floor and tile in the nice shower that we have here. But again, it's we've updated it to kind of flow with the rest of the guest suite, and I love that it has a little bit of natural light. Now that has a privacy film on it because you would be looking directly at our swing set if not. But I love that it lets a little bit of light in, and the way my husband installed the vanity and the lights adds a charming little touch to it. I think the key thing about vintage and secondhand shopping really is repetition. It's not that I go into a thrift store and come out with, basketfuls of treasures each time. It's really just the repetition of going and seeing what you can find. Some people have the patience for that, like myself. Some people do not, and that's totally understandable. For me, the thrill of the hunt is just the best high. I don't feel like I ever have to run a marathon because I can go into a thrift store and get that same high when I find like a really amazing treasure, or an antique store too. It's just thrilling for me. Another great tip when you're looking to add a collected look to your home is to shop your own family's homes. So ask your mom or your grandmother, what sort of things do you have that you're no longer using that I may want to use in my home? It's just a great way to add some sentimental values and memory to your home, and also to have a family heirloom. Even if it's just a little trinket, it's really special to incorporate from generations past. Welcome to our screen porch. This is such a great outdoor room that we just love. We use this almost 3 seasons, especially in the fall and the spring. It's really nice to have these doors that open up to our family room and just kind of enjoy indoor-outdoor living. This is a great little seating area, and it's plenty of room for friends and family, and we're often, out here on summer and fall nights. I especially love this room when it rains. I love to come sit outside with a cup of tea and just watch the rain. But I also love to kind of bring some outdoor into this space and display some of my plants here. And of course, another opportunity to decorate with blue and white and make a little outdoor vignette here as well. I love kind of decorating an outdoor space almost like you would an indoor space, like the use of rugs, even layering rugs. We have some oversized furniture that feels nice and comfy and cozy. I also love to bring a coffee table that wouldn't traditionally be an outdoor coffee table into this space. So this is a little vintage mirror-topped wooden table, but it also works just as well outdoors, and almost creating like a living room outside, especially with a little outdoor lamp and a woven bar cart that is great for extra storage and things like that for entertaining. And it's just a great space to gather in. This is the original deck to the house, and then the former owners added the screen porch and the cottage addition. But I love that it creates almost like this little courtyard area of a deck. It's so charming, and when we first moved into this space, my husband hung these little cafe lights, and this little spot just felt so magical, like almost Parisian-like. I love to decorate this space with ferns and garden stools and even mirrors. I have several outdoor mirrors around that just kind of help bounce light around everywhere. And my husband has his grill over here that he'll bring out, and he loves his setup here. So it's convenient to the cottage kitchenette to do all of his grilling out here. This table, when we are entertaining, we often take it into the backyard so we have more room to spread out. But again, this kind of serves as like a little prep station when he's out here cooking. This is our cute little stone path. The former owners had the stone, but we recently had it all reset and permanently put in with gravel in between. And it leads to this beautiful little fire pit area that overlooks our backyard. But the stone walkway continues to our driveway, and then there's an identical one on the other side of the house. And I just love this charming cottage-like little detail, and I feel like it adds a lot of interest to our backyard. And at night, when it's all lit up with the cafe lights around the perimeter of the yard, it looks especially charming. Home to me is a place that you can be yourself and feel that you are rejuvenated by being in that space. I always try to create a home that feels cozy and comfortable for my family. I also feel like I'm always trying to recreate memories from my childhood, whether that's from my parents' home, my childhood home, or my grandparents' home. And it's just really important to me to kind of infuse that into our home. I feel like decorating with vintage, even though if those objects aren't the exact same that your parents or grandparents had, I feel like it's almost like taking a whiff of perfume or cologne. And when you see that item, it instantly brings you back to that memory. And I just think that there's something so sweet and special about that. And that's just what I try to create in my own home.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.